Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 2 of the eStockCar World Series here on Maconi Entertainment. My name is Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth tonight will be Will Tiller and the bearded sim racer himself, Ryan Bauer, working the controls as our producer. As always, the camera angles being provided by Dougie Beard. Race number 2 is tonight. We started at the High Bank Super Speedway of Daytona to kick off this championship. Now we're at the mile-and-a-half oval of Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This place offers some very interesting racing in the trucks, which are very reliant on the draft at this racetrack. Will, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Vegas and some of the action we're going to see tonight?
Yeah, it is Vegas, baby, here tonight, Joey. Course is a mile-and-a-half oval with steep banking located in the beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada desert. Track was established in 1996. Great year for everybody with both oval and road course layouts. 20 degrees of bankings in the corner. Part of the run wide open all the way around this track.
Will be pretty interesting to see the racing action tonight, as most of these trucks right now have completed their second qualifying lap. We're going to take a look at the race analysis. Everyone is in the trucks. 70 laps at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. One fast repair is available to these competitors. Got to be careful after that. Hopefully you don't pick up too much damage. Going to have 3 green-white checkered attempts, and it is a fixed setup for all of the racers tonight, so not gonna have to worry about maybe one truck scooting away. It's really all gonna be up to the driver and how they get on top of that setup, because all of the trucks are identical in terms of speed. It'll be interesting because at Daytona, the racing was quite different. Now, we do see a lot of drafting here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but it is a mile-and-a-half, Will. It's not the High Bank Super Speedway of Daytona International Speedway. It is a very different racetrack. However, some of the racing, maybe tandem bump drafting and trains of drafting, might be similar.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. The action that we saw last week at Daytona, Joey, was so off the wall crazy. We had drivers shooting the gap, going 3 wide, consistently going from the inside lane, outside lane, blocking 3 lanes at a time at some point. Just shows the skill of these drivers here tonight. And if we're going to see even more of that action here tonight from Vegas, I cannot wait for the drop of the green flag.
All of the competitors have officially taken their 2 laps here at the qualifying, and we have our starting grid. On pole is the 013 machine. That's Aiden Burline. Next to him is Shane Williamson on row 1. Nate Stewart there in the 3rd place, followed up with Keaton Swain. Connor Berry rounding out the top 5. Oliver Golding in the 6th spot. Hayes Booth in 7th. Lee Norton 8th. Patrick O'Toole 9th, and Anthony Marsh in the 10th spot. Will?
Picking up at 11th, we got Zach Wheeler in that 20 machine. In 12th, we have Mika Logic in that 77. In the 13th position here on this grid, we have Matthew Jarrett. In 14th is Nicholas Deschette in that 23. 15 is Eric Whitner. 16th, Brian Tollier in that 38. Christopher Fathke in that 08 is going to start 17th. Matthew Hofford in that 84 is going to roll off 18th here tonight. 19th will be Sean Williams in that 89. And 20 will be Mr. Darth Vader himself, Barrett Balhumus in that 79.
In the 21st position, we have Crystal King, Chris Dickinson 22nd, Lance Marsh, Tyler Green, Jordan Nissen in 25th, Troy Nissen 26th, Sam Brochu, and Blake Reynolds rounding out the 28 trucks we are going to see take the green flag here tonight. And as you see, everyone is just kind of getting gridded up right now. Weather is a nice, cool day in Las Vegas. 77-degree ambient, 79 on track. That's pretty nice to go racing. And one thing I do want to say is that none of this would be possible without any of our series partners. That includes Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Setup Shop. If you're interested in anything to do with some setups or getting your stuff broadcasted here on the screen, make sure to go to MaconiSetupShop.com, and all of the information is there for you. Well, Will, it looks like the pace truck has officially rolled off the grid. That means we're going to be going green this next time by. Do you have any insight on what we're going to see here on this first green flag run?
No, what I gotta say, Joey, right before this week's winner, we're looking at Ashley Lyle will not be racing here, so we'll have a different winner in this series as this plays out. But we spoke about it to start this broadcast off, what this track will enable, what we're going to see here tonight with that tandem draft. That draft is going to play a key factor in this. Remember, these drivers only have one fast repair, so if you get pushed wrong into the wall, you have to make sure you time that repair just right.
Well, and we saw that at Daytona. It was actually a pretty aggressive race to start things off, and we'll see if that tones down at all here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It is a mile and a half, so things might be a little bit different, but I have a feeling that with this group of competitors, everybody wants to be up at the front leading this race. It looks like the pace truck is rounding out at turn 4. Field is in the hands of Aiden Berline, the 013. We're going to see when he decides to get on the gas. We have Barney, the flag man, here holding the green flag. Aiden slowly brings him down, and we have a green flag on the racetrack. That is Nate Stewart on the bottom line. A really clean start from this entire field, but looks like the 14 is going to lead the first lap here at Las Vegas. That's Aiden Berline up on the top groove. Connor Berry in the number 2 machine with a little bit of a wiggle there going through turns 1 and 2. Hayes Booth there in the number 5 machine, and then Shane Williamson rounding out the top 5 currently.
Yeah, coming down in the corner right now, still have Stewart in that 14 on the inside lane. Connor Berry in that 2 trucks on the outside of him. We have the 13 of Berlin now leading us across the line here. Lap 2 is in the books, heading down to corner number 1.
Just like that, we already have our first full course yellow. Looks like Sean Williamson. Oh no, cars are still wrecking on the front straight. Looks like maybe it's going to be Lance Marsh is the one involved in this one. We'll have to take a look because I think this happened a little bit further in the back of the pack, and where he spun, I would think that it's happening in the tri-oval, Will.
Yeah, let's check it out here. Our first caution of the night. We'll check it out. This is coming off of 4 right to this front stretch. See what happens with that 60 truck. It's going to go way down the apron. Looks like it's already happening in front of the 60 truck right here. We're going to have to check out another angle. It looks like it was already starting to accumulate up there, heading down to corner number 1, and it was just the domino effect there towards down the grid.
Yeah, it was that black and blue truck. I'm trying to find who that was down there, but it was a black and blue truck. Maybe it was Eric Whitner, maybe, that was spun around, and then, yeah, we saw Lance Marsh just have nowhere to go. I think it was Eric Whitner. You see the heavy damage on the side of that car, and sure enough, here's the 75. We're going to see how this all starts off here, Will.
Yeah, check it out here on this Maconi Entertainment replay. See what happens with that 84 trucks way on the inside there. See on the outside to see what happens if there's any contact here around the corner coming down to the front stretch. You see it's clean so far. Is there any? Oh, there it is, Joey. A little bit of incidental contact maybe out of the 17 truck there.
Yeah, I don't think that was malicious at all, but it was the 17 of Chris Dixon and the 75 here. We're going to see Chris Dixon just get into the left rear quarter panel of the 75, and that's what causes the 75 to spin.
Yeah, check it out right here. And boy, Joey, we didn't even get about 2 laps into the books here. We have our first caution of the night. So this goes to what we were talking about to start this broadcast off.
Yeah, it is, and I hear Chris Dixon on the radio. I know they're talking about it, and like I said, I don't think it was anything malicious, and I actually think it was pretty calm and collected for the most part. I didn't see a lot of cars ducking, dodging, weaving around. The leaders were very calm and collected. They got going, and there's just a little bit of misjudgment, I feel, further in the back of the pack that brought out this full course yellow, but given that, I still see the pace truck lights on currently. We should have one more lap under yellow flag, and going to take a look at some of these onboard cams we have. And this it's awesome to see all of these racers really log in, give us these point of view shots of exactly what's going on. That was the 79 of Barrett Polomus that we're going to sneak peek of inside of his racing rig there. Looks like the field is rounding out of turn 4, and we're going to be going lights out this time by, Will. Here's another good shot. There's Aiden Beerline. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Aiden, but love the triple monitor setup with the curved monitors. Always kind of wraps around you. I would like that setup. It's always pretty cool. And I think that we should have Will back in the booth here shortly. Here's another on board. We're going to go through everybody that we got here on cams. Hayes Booth, one of our front runners from round 1. He's going to be restarting in the 4th position on this restart. We got you back, Will?
Yes, sir. I am back and in effect.
Awesome. A few more cams here before we get to the action. Sam Brochu here in the number 25 machine. And I think that is it for all of our onboard cams. We're going to have to be checking in on all of the competitors throughout the race. Like you mentioned, only a couple green flag laps, Will, but with lap 6 going to lap 7 here, you think we're going to see another quick green flag or maybe a longer run?
I'm thinking maybe a longer run. I think those drivers took those couple of, let's call them warm-up laps to get comfortable with this track. As you mentioned, Joey, we're coming from the high banks of Daytona Super Speedway Racing, a whole different style what we're going to see here tonight from Vegas. But here we go, Joey. This green flag is waving up in the booth.
Aiden Beerline once again leads the field back to the green flag. Flung viciously by Barney the Flagman, I might add, and looks like it got everybody clean into turn 1, 3 wide, a little bit further back with the 89 machine of Sean Williams pushing the issue a little bit, but Aiden clears everyone coming out of turn 2. A little bit of racing between Nate Stewart, Connor Berry, Shane Williamson, and also Hayes Booth. That's that top 5 group that's got about 2 car lengths on this next group of 6.
And you see the pace coming off of 4 right there. We thought we were going to see straight line racing here, a lot of drafting. These drivers are all over the place on these lines right now. Still Berlin going to take us down into corner number 1 and 2 right now. I see Stewart trying to hold on, and Connor Berry in that 2 truck. You spoke of Connor's experience last week, Joey. Just didn't have the finish that we know that he can have inside that 2 truck. But here tonight, he is hungry for a good finish.
He shut the door pretty hard on, I believe that was Shane Williams there in the 15, and this is just some great racing action. I feel like this is what the trucks can really provide here at a racetrack like a mile and a half such as Las Vegas, is that yes, they are reliant on the draft, but look at the groups that it makes when they're all on the same setup. It really is about timing your run, being able to manage your tires out there. And Will, I know that we were talking about those tires earlier pre-broadcast.
Yeah, we were. We were trying to calculate whether these drivers would use all the sets. And Joey, you had an astounding yes answer to that question. I could see what you were saying. You don't really want to leave anything on the table. It's sort of like timeouts in football. You might as well use them if you got them. Now the question is, Joey, when do these drivers start to use those tires? When do you see those windows starting to come up for these guys?
I tell you what, there is not any room here in this top 8 group. You saw Hayes Booth move down to the bottom line right in front of Zach Wheeler, and lucky for him, there was just inches to spare between the two, but it looks like Nate Stewart now leading the way. Aiden Beerline relinquished all the way back to 3rd, and we're 2 by 2 for the lead with the first 4 positions. Now it's going to be Connor Berry on the low line, taking the lead away from Nate Stewart. We'll see if the momentum carries back the 14 on the high side, which it does, but Connor Berry has the preferred line along the bottom here through turns 3 and 4. He's going to clear the 14. Looks like the number 2 will lead this lap.
Yeah, a clean run out of Connor Berry in that 2 truck as he will take us down to corner number 1 and 2 as our race leader. But here comes Stewart in that 14 on the outside. See if he has anything on for him here on the apex. You see the 13 of Berlin's right there as well. They're side by side for second down the backstretch.
Great racing really throughout this pack. I mentioned that there's kind of some groups here, but it really is. I'm looking all the way back through 20th place. It is one train of cars for this entire field as we're getting these camera shots. Pretty impressive racing from this group that at Daytona, Will, if we remember, there was a lot of yellow flags that happened. There was also stage racing that they were doing then that is not going to be involved in tonight's race. So we'll have to see how some of that happens. And jumping back a little bit further in the pack, this is Blake Reynolds, one of the fastest drivers out here trying to work his way up through. But you see how busy this racetrack is.
Yeah, it's very busy indeed. This is 5 o'clock traffic right here. These drivers are trying to navigate through, and you see right there for Reynolds, he has nowhere to go. He keeps trying to find a spot, an opportunity, a window, but there are so many trucks on this raw banking racetrack. You don't really have the opportunity. You just have to pick that driver in front of you and ride it out and find that opportunity.
I hear Hayes Booth on the radio. I think he might be saying, you know, let's not let these leaders get away, because look at Connor Berry right now. He's looking back at this competition. He's got Aiden Beerline for company, but these 2 trucks are starting to separate themselves between them in 3rd place. And let me tell you something about Connor Berry. He is a very successful real-world off-road racer. Maybe not in the oval, but he knows how to take control of a race, and he knows how to bring home the bacon and the checkered flag at the end.
Yeah, he's really shown it here tonight. He just had a bit of hard luck last week at Daytona. Just kept getting involved in instances until he had to finally retire that 2 truck. Here tonight, though, we're seeing exactly what we saw last week at Daytona before those unfortunate incidents starts to happen. He's very fast, knows how to work that draft. As you mentioned, Joey, he's a very successful off-road racer. But here tonight, let's call it a little bit of an obscure racetrack that Vegas is. He's showing what he has right there, and you see the focus right there in the in-car camera. He is ready here for tonight. You see that 2 truck here. We're actually checking out Aiden Beerline right here in the 2nd position as he crosses this line here, making lap 17 down into 1. This is going to be a battle I think we're going to see all night, Joey.
Keaton Swain just had some issues and got up into the wall off of turn 4. Not sure who else was involved in that, but Keaton Swain was running in that front group there. We stay green flag on the racetrack, and even though he's got a faster pair available to him, he's got to get back up to speed and get going, stay on the lead lap. Here's the 21. This is Keaton on the bottom lane here. We'll see. Oh, you know, I think he comes up the racetrack, and I think that the car up in the upper lane was expecting him to stay more on the white line. I just think that was a miscommunication between drivers is all.
That's very tough right there. A racing incident, if you want to call it that. It very much was so, but for Swain right there, I don't think it's that time to use that fast repair. Of course, he's going to go to the tail end of the pack, but we watch this battle brewing right here, Joey. This is a battle for 3rd for a podium spot right now. You see the 14 of Stewart, 5 of Booth, and 20 of Wheeler. This battle is heating up right here for 3rd.
Yeah, it is heating up for 3rd right now. Nate Stewart getting hounded by Hayes Booth and Zach Wheeler. Now, Hayes Booth is very, very calm and collected, and I've been noticing he's just been trying to push along the 14. I wonder if the 5 has a little bit more pace than him, and that if he got clear, might be able to do something. But here comes Zach Wheeler on the low line, and this is what's going to happen is that if Hayes Booth just decides to team up with Nate Stewart, and Nate is actually the one that's holding him back, people might just start to take advantage of some weak spots in the racetrack and what's going on and how you're helping another competitor.
Exactly, and we saw it almost at Daytona last week. It was almost the word of the day of teamwork. Finding people to work with, even if they're not your teammates, you want to work with them a little bit here. But here comes Hayes Booth to the inside right now. Stewart in that 14. Hayes Booth with a run around the corner, almost goes door to door with Stewart. You saw that last week at Daytona, though, Joey, how close these drivers can get to one another and not make contact. Hayes Booth, though, is going to take us across the line down in the corner. He's still going to try to inch in front of Stewart. We're side by side around 1 and 2 for 3rd.
I think we're seeing one of the reasons why Hayes Booth was trying to push Nate Stewart is that when you go side by side, it's not a very simple, easy, clean pass that you get it done in one or two corners. That looks like Nate Stewart can actually hold his own on that high groove, and I feel like they're actually losing time to first and second place here. So now that I see this, I don't blame Hayes Booth. If he can't clear a car, it might be better off to push him. And here we're riding along with Barrett Polomus a little bit further back in the field. He's currently in the 9th position, but big shout out to Barrett because he is up 11 spots. So having a good race so far. And on that topic, our biggest mover so far is just the car right behind Barrett in Sam Brochu. He is up 17 positions from his initial starting spot of 27, Will.
Yes, Sam Brochu is definitely a talented driver. I know him from another series running next-gen cars, him and Barrett Polomus. These two drivers are going to make some noise here in this series. And for Sam, he missed week number 1. Here tonight, though, you just spoke about it, up a lot of positions. Now both those drivers are inside the top 10.
It's funny because we kind of see this group of drivers. This is up 18 positions now for Sam Brochu. Barrett Polomus up 12 positions, just a couple back. Blake Reynolds, who we were riding on board with earlier, up 17 positions up into the 11th spot. So that's another big mover. That's the yellow number 66 truck here on screen. I think that this group right here, Sam, Blake, all of these guys, Paul McLogic's mixed in here. We're going to have to keep an eye on them because I feel like these are some of the fastest trucks, and they've had to deal with dirty air this whole time. What's it going to be once they get out front?
Yeah, and I always like to say to pick out one or two drivers that are in those starting positions of, let's say, 20th down, or maybe even 15 down on that racing group. At least two or
looks like Blake Reynolds right now is going to be going side by side, I believe, here. Going to clear that position up into 9th, move him up 19 positions. So now it's currently a battle between Blake Reynolds and Sam Brochu. Those two cars right now for the 8th position, and they are both up 19 spots. They started 27th and 28th place respectively. You know, you got to be working together a little bit to start next to each other near the back of the field and then work your way up methodically, not have any damage on any of those trucks right now. And here we're going to jump back up. This is Hayes Booth taking another look down the inside of the 14 of Nate Stewart. One thing's for sure, it looks like they're starting to draw even now with the first and second place trucks of Connor Berry and Aiden Beerline. Here we're riding on board with Hayes Booth starting to push along that 14 of Nate Stewart. One thing's for sure, all of these drivers, especially in the top 5, are extremely accomplished either in the real world or in the virtual world here on iRacing. Something else I want to point out here, because I know that things are a little bit calm right now, when we were riding on board with Aiden Beerline earlier. And I want to pull up his onboard camera again, because he just reminded me of a character in a very famous NASCAR movie. He's just missing a little bit of dirt on the face and the old school goggles, looking very Russ Wheeler. Like, give a shout out to Days of Thunder there. Tell me if I'm wrong. Does he not look like Russ Wheeler wheeling this car?
He does. He does have a look to him there, Joey. He's very in the moment, very intense. So I'd have to agree with you there.
Well, I know that Russ Wheeler was brought in as that hot shoe to go in and win races, and certainly seems like Aiden Beerline has something up his sleeve right now, because he's just hanging out in the second place following Connor Berry. Connor Berry's been doing an extremely good job out front to just consistently hold the lead. And with the draft such an important factor here in iRacing, you can really gain time when you follow your competitors. And I'm really impressed that Connor's jumped out to a half a second lead. He's been able to hold that consistently over Aiden, and here you see the battle between Nate Stewart and Hayes Booth. It's not going anywhere, but they're not making any in-ground on first and second place.
Yeah, and I would like to say Vegas is a track that you can almost get stuck in your position. You might gain a lot of spots to start. Speaking of Barrett Polima and Sam Brochu, but at a certain point throughout the race, Joey, you just get stuck. I mean, you're trying to make moves, but then you make a move, you lose speed, you have to get back behind the guy that you were fighting there for a little while. And now here tonight, we're starting to see that pace to slow down a little bit. These drivers are more content with running and drafting a little bit more here on lap 31.
Unfortunately, you see that's the 75. That's Eric Whitner. He was involved in one of those earlier incidents, but didn't get the yellow flag. He's just kind of limping around out there right now. And actually, it looks like our lead battle has closed up just a little bit. We're riding on board with Blake Reynolds as he follows Sam Brochu. He's actually going to get held up just a little bit by the 75. I don't know if he knows that there's damage on this car right now, as it looks like we got some green flag pit stops. It looks like Connor Berry is leading a handful of cars right now down pit lane.
Yeah, this is that window we were talking about. So lap 33 looks like just in the range here. So Joey, we might see more pit stops before this race is over, as now it looks like the rest of the field will head in.
Yeah, I said a handful of cars, but it looks like only the top 7 cars were able to stay out and stretch it one more lap on fuel. Now, with green flag pit stops, here comes the rest of the field. You see the big slide out of the 14, Nate Stewart, trying to get it woed up to pit lane speed. It's important not to speed coming down onto pit road, and it's also important not to overshoot your box. And I think something happened to the number 2 truck, because he lost a ton of positions on pit road.
He did indeed here. We'll have to see where he comes out, where he reshuffles in all of this right here. We have Aiden Beerline right there now leading the way in that 13 truck. Or not leading the way right now, will be when we all reshuffle the field. Looks like he has Hayes Booth's going to follow him out of pit road right now. Our leader on the racetrack, though, is Lance March in that 60 truck. So take us down to corner number 1. There are 34 laps in, Joey. Almost to the halfway point here at Vegas.
Well, this is an interesting strategy out of the 60, and I love it. You know, he was a little bit further back, and he's actually working lap 31 of his stint now. I think he topped up with fuel under that first yellow flag, so he's just trying to stretch it out that little bit further. Here we see the 60 of Lance Marsh ultimately coming down pit road, and that will make the 14 of Nate Stewart the new leader. He was the one who got it done most efficiently on pit road. Look at that, Aiden Beerline now behind the 14, and Hayes Booth battling him side by side for what is the 2nd position now.
Oh, the air hunger right there. They're chomping at the bit to get that lead back. Stewart's doing a great job blocking that 14 truck as we head down to corners number 3 and 4. Aiden Beerline's right there in that 13. He's got that thing souped up off of pit road. He's not going to go to the inside of the right here at start finish line. No, not going to be enough though. Stewart's going to lead us down to corner number 1.
And as they pass Lance Marsh finally on the racetrack, now Nate Stewart is the official leader. The 14 to the point, but you say Aiden Beerline, Hayes Booth, and then look at that, Barrett Polimas there in the 79, just hanging out in the 14th spot, up 16 positions, but I'm no surprised. 66, Blake Reynolds up into the top 5.
Yeah, watch out for that 66 truck. Very strong at Daytona last week. Just didn't get the finish that we think that he deserved last week, the way that he was racing that 66. Here tonight, though, has that thing locked into the top 5 as we're 34 to go down to corner number 3.
I want to look out the back of Barrett's truck again. I don't know. I thought I saw that the wing was a little bit damaged. Does that look a little funky? It doesn't look straight to me, Will. Does it look straight to you?
That does look like a bit of damage on that 79 truck, but if anything, Joey, it's made that truck faster because we saw what he had to do to navigate that grid, navigate that field up inside the top 10. Now he's got that thing inside the top 5. So whatever damage is on that rear wing, it's actually made that truck just a bit faster here in this run.
Well, let's bring up, if we have it, a lap comparison, because Blake Reynolds right now is the fastest truck on the racetrack, and since he pitted, he has hunted down Barrett Polimas, and I think that the 66 is going to be working his way up through, but the thing that we saw earlier, it's different between catching the trucks and passing them. Once you get up to them, you have to be able to carry the momentum past a truck. But I tell you what, Blake Reynolds has plenty of practice. He's already passed 23 trucks to get up to this spot.
Yeah, a lot of practice indeed, as we see those top 3 trucks are now stuck to one another in that straight line. Across the line right now, 32 to go. We're going to ride on board with the fastest truck on the track right now, and that is Blake Reynolds in that 66. And you see it right there, Joe. You just touched on it. He's trying to find that opportunity. He's trying to find that winner to get around Barrett Polimas right there. It just doesn't happen that fast here at Vegas. You have to take your time, be a bit patient on the racetrack.
Yeah, you look at his last lap time of 30.8. Compare that to the top 4 cars, the 31.0. So he definitely has pace. But you see him now, he's kind of stuck. He's got to figure out a way to get around one at a time, as it looks like we've got Aiden Beerline trying to take a look at Nate Stewart, and sure enough, there goes Blake Reynolds underneath Barrett. I think that was a gift from Mr. Polimas there, saying, you know what, 66, go on, get after it.
Started to feel it just a little bit behind him. Now we have Sam Brochu up in the 6th position. Connor Berry, who was our race leader for the longest time, is up to 7th. We have Wheeler up to 8th, Green and 9th, and Williamson is currently our top 10. But all eyes are on the top of the grid right now, with Stewart trying to hold off Beerline and Booth right up there, who are 1, 2, 3, almost nose to tail up here, Joey, as we come off at 2.
You mentioned Sam Brochu now joining this party in the top 6. He was also turning lap times like that Blake Reynolds machine, and he's officially caught this lead group. This is going to be a really good battle. In fact, here we are riding on board with Sam Brochu. He has caught them, like I said. So now we have Nate Stewart leading over Aiden Beerline, Hayes Booth 3rd position, Blake Reynolds in that yellow 66, Barrett Polimas in the 5th spot, and Sam Brochu. That is your top 6 racing all for the lead.
And you see them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the racetrack as we're down to corner number 3. They are straight in line right now. No breaks in this armor as we come off of corner number 4. Still Stewart as our race leader. Adrian Beerline right there as well. But he has Hayes Booth now to the inside of him as we head down to corner number 1.
This is what Hayes Booth needs. He needs somebody to come down here and help him, and it might be Blake Reynolds. You see him setting up top and try to get this over-under done. Looks like he's actually going to be setting up Aiden Beerline now, coming down the back straightaway. We'll see if the 66 will be able to clear Aiden on the low side. I know that Beerline's going to hang it tough around the high side, try to carry the momentum, but no. Look at Blake Reynolds already up into the 3rd position.
Yeah, with a big block for the 13 truck of Beerline, he had to throw that ball. Barrett Polimas, who is coming super strong. You know, Aiden just dropped spot after spot on the racetrack from being forced to that top side lane, forced out of that straight line of draft. Now he's just trying to hold on to his top 5.
I tell you what, here comes Sam Brochu. Got a little bit of help down the back straightaway there. He's going to try to clear Aiden Beerline, as well as Barrett Polimas there in the 79, taking a look down the inside. Sam Brochu also involved. But I fear that if they battle it out side by side too long, they might lose touch with this front 3 that's pretty well organized.
Yeah, you have to stick together. We've seen it so far here tonight. Joey, these guys have to sync up eventually. We've seen it out of Aiden right there in that 13 truck, the way he broke out of line. You know, Barrett Polimas put it on him. The 66 also, Reynolds put it on him there, forced him out of that line. And now he's just trying to hold on. You see Sam Brochu out to the inside. But as you mentioned, though, Joey, the more these trucks battle it out, the more they're going to lose touch with these top 3, who are now 1, 2, 3, nose to tail off of 2.
I think Aiden Beerline just realized that he let Sam Brochu go down to the inside there. And as I say that, they over-under. But here comes Blake Reynolds taking a look underneath Hayes Booth. He'll go ahead and clear him already going into turn 3. I think this is exactly what Nate Stewart does not want to see in his mirror. Blake Reynolds in this 66 machine has gone up 26 positions from his starting spot of 28. Now finds himself hunting down the leader.
Yeah, Reynolds is forward strong here tonight as we come off of corner number 2 here from Vegas. It's time to roll the dice. It's time to pop those little balls on the roulette table because we're going to get a winner here with 23 laps to go. Blake Reynolds, though, is the fastest truck on the track. You can tell. Now, whether or not Stewart in that 14 can block the 66, who's had one heck of a run here tonight, we will wait and see as we dig down corner number 1. There goes Reynolds to the inside.
It's exactly, there's going to be a little bit of door contact there between our battle for the lead between Reynolds and Stewart. I saw Reynolds fake high, go low, and then Stewart came up with a block. This is a great battle for the lead as they dive off into turn 3. We're going to see Blake Reynolds once again run a little bit of a higher line going on the outside, try to carry that momentum down the straightaway, but not close enough this lap. He's got to regather himself, regather that momentum back up, make another charge at Nate Stewart here. As you see, the 14 is hanging out in the middle of the racetrack in turn 1. I think that's exactly what he needs to do because it really allows him to launch off of the corner for the top end speed down the straightaway.
And I think also there, Stewart in that 14 truck running a different line in the 66 kills that draft around the corner. So Reynolds can't link up, follow that draft line, follow him around the corner. It just causes that little bit of separation, which gives the 14 that run off the corner. But here we are riding on board with Blake Reynolds in the 66. He goes low here on 1. See if he has this run together. You see the 14 on the top side of the racetrack right there off of 2. Not going to be enough once again as Stewart's going to hold off down the backstretch.
Now, we saw the same thing from Hayes Booth earlier in the race when he was following Nate Stewart. He just couldn't get around him, if you remember, and just Hayes just decided to sit back there and try to hang out and push Nate Stewart along. And seen a little bit out of the same with Blake Reynolds. And I'm not going to say that Blake can't get around Nate Stewart. I just feel like Nate Stewart is very comfortable in the line that he's running. He's comfortable where he can put the truck on the racetrack, and that makes it very difficult for the competitors to find a way around him.
It very much so, and you see it right here. Blake Reynolds keeps trying to chop at the bit. He's got that axe. He is trying to cut down that tree with every swing. But there goes the 66 of Blake Reynolds down pit road here. This is our second window of pit stops. I had a feeling it was coming here soon, Joey. Now we'll see who heads down pit road next. Will we see this group of leaders head down pit road here with 18 laps to go?
What a surprise strategy move here out of Blake Reynolds. And I gotta say, he timed that perfectly. Hard on the brakes to the speed commitment cone. Perfect in the box. Got out of the box great. It's going to be tough for the rest of these competitors to match this in and out lap. However, he's got to hope that a yellow flag does not come out on the racetrack, because here he is going officially a lap down as the leaders go by. And I think that they don't even have to pit for probably another 5, maybe 8 laps.
But that will put the 66 truck out there on an island all by himself, and these other drivers are heading down pit road. So, bit of a bold strategy there, Joey. Let's see if it pays off for that 66 truck.
I really like it as long as it stays green on the racetrack. And here comes Nate Stewart down pit road. That is our leader now hitting his pit box as well. We're going to see a few more follow him down pit road. Yeah, we're going to see these strategy pit stops finally come into play. Hayes Booth, the number 5 machine, stays out on the racetrack. You see him rounding turns 1 and turns 2. Will be interesting to see when he decides to make this call to finally hit pit road. Will it be this lap, or will he stay out on the racetrack?
Yeah, he's going to have to pit here pretty soon in that 5 truck. No, not right now. He's going to keep it moving, keep it grooving, make it 15 laps to go as we head down to corner number 1. Currently, our race leader is Hayes Booth in that 5 truck.
Nate Stewart did get on and off pit road very clean as well, and I'm watching to see where everything lays out. But I tell you what, Blake Reynolds is already halfway down the back straightaway. Just those couple laps early and him nailing the pit in and pit out. Nate Stewart finds himself, my goodness, I'd say a half mile behind the 66.
Yeah, the 66 has had that thing dialed in all night long there, Joey. That's why I always like to say starting positions don't always resemble what your truck is going to do or your race car, depending on what kind of class you race. All these series that I call, starting on the pole position is cool, top 10 is very cool, top 15 is very cool. But always at the end of these races, there's always at least 1 or 2 drivers that are in the mix that start 15 on down on that grid. And we see it here tonight with Reynolds in that 66, up so many positions. I lost count there, Joey. Now he's up another spot here, up to 9th.
Well, we've got our cameras on the number 5 because this is Hayes Booth, your current leader on the racetrack. He's working lap number 26 of this fuel stint here. See the number 19 behind him. That is not for position. That's Troy Nissen. Unfortunately, Troy is a few laps down on the racetrack. I'm seeing 2 laps down. So he's just hanging out in the draft of the 5 machine. And I don't blame Hayes Booth. He's made his bed. He's got to lay in it. He's going to stretch this thing out as long as he can to hope that there's a yellow flag at some point on the racetrack to trap all of these cars behind him, essentially.
Yeah, he can try all he wants. He can push that equipment as far as it's going to go. But eventually, as Newton said, you know, objects in motion will stay in motion. And you see the 66 on the top side there. And now you see Hayes Booth in that 5 is going to head down pit road. And he's going to Tokyo drift down pit road, slamming the brakes so hard.
Well, and I think that he missed the pit entry commitment cone, and I think that'll be a penalty for Hayes Booth, and unfortunately, that'll pretty much be day over for the number 5 machine, despite how quick he is on pit road. So, that leaves Nicholas Dashley, a name that we have not said today, another one of these off-road racers finding himself on the pavement oval, currently leading the way in the number 23 truck. He's going to have to come down pit road here pretty soon, I would assume, but he's working lap 27 of his fuel stint. Maybe 1 or 2 more laps he can do.
And we see this right now. The 23 truck will take us down in corner number 1 as our race leader. 11 laps to go. As you touched on it, though, Joey, he has to head down pit road before the conclusion of this race. But don't look now, Joey, on the grid. Reynolds is already up to 2nd. We have Stewart up to 3rd. Barrett Polimas up to 4th. Sam Brochu will currently be our top 5 with 10 laps to go.
And I'm looking, Blake Reynolds, I think, might just kind of be in a fuel save mode. He's just kind of doing 31.4s on the racetrack, which is pretty far off pace, if you ask me. He's got about 2.5 seconds up to Nate Stewart, and I think what he probably is doing is saving his tires right now, just in case there's any sort of late race yellow, or if Nate Stewart gets close enough to make an attempt, he can go ahead and hit that loud pedal, start to use up and be more aggressive with his equipment. But still, the 23 truck, Nicholas Dashley, continues to lead on the racetrack, and this is important because if there's any yellow right now, it can definitely shake things up.
Yeah, for Dashley, do you think that he has any of this in his mind? Do you think that he's thinking about Reynolds in that 66, Stewart in that 14? Or do you think he is just pushing that envelope, pushing it to the finish as much as he can? He knows probably in the back of his mind he has to head down pit road, but how, tempting is it just to keep that thing going around the track?
Yeah, well, you can only keep it going around for so long, and here we see the 23 try to get it slowed down. I don't know if he is. Look at a huge lockup, and unfortunately he's going to spin and make contact, heavy contact with pit road. That is unfortunate for the 23. It's probably going to take him all but out of this race, and that's going to leave Blake Reynolds, once he comes around and passes the 23 on the racetrack and on start finish, back to the point, and the timing and scoring pylon will sort itself out as they run. Blake Reynolds leading, Nate Stewart second place, Sam Brochu now finds himself in the 3rd spot, Barrett Polimas 4th, and Connor Berry. I got a feel for Connor Berry right now because he was leading this race, and just that first long pit stop under green flag conditions, he just hasn't been able to make up this 4-second gap, and he's turning laps that are that are faster than our leader right now, 31.3 in comparison to 31.4 out of our leader. So the number 2 truck has speed, just an unfortunate day again.
Another unfortunate day, but right now he has to hold on to that 5th spot as Aiden Beerline right there is putting it on him to stay inside the top 5. And that 13 truck, but we're watching the mix of drivers right here. This is Stewart in that 14. The Stewart in that 14 truck, though, has to either find somebody in this group to push him along, find some help here with 6 laps to go. If he allows Reynolds to just stay in this clean air, hit these lines like he has majority of the night, we might be watching our race winner right here in the 66.
It's pretty crazy looking out the back of this Blake Reynolds machine at just kind of the busyness that Nate Stewart, Sam Brochu, Barrett Polimas, they're all going through. There's a few lap trucks that they were just trying to make their way through. They ended up splitting them off of turns 3 and 4 that last lap. But one thing's for sure, now that we are at 4 laps to go, it seems like the 66th is in plenty good control, has picked up the pace to match the trucks behind him, doing a 31.5 compared to a 31.4 to the truck behind him. And it really is going to be Sam Brochu, I feel, that might be able to put some pressure on Nate Stewart. I feel like that is where the battle is going to be in the closing laps, maybe.
Yeah, with 4 laps to go, we are waiting to see who will be in the mix. Right now, Reynolds in that 66 truck is cruising around this Las Vegas racetrack. We've had our fun. We've gambled a little bit. We've drinking our fancy champagne on the strip, Joey. But here tonight, we will crown a winner of week number 2 of the eStockCar World Series. Here we had a crazy race at Daytona. Here tonight's been a bit of the same, not as crazy moves as we saw at the Super Speedway, the high banks of Daytona. But here tonight, we're going to be in store for a great finish. Make it 2 laps to go, down to 1.
Just as I said that, Sam Brochu made his way around Nate Stewart. He's currently the fastest truck on the racetrack, over 2/10 faster than our leader, Blake Reynolds. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that's Keaton Swain. I misjudged that. Keaton Swain is out there on fresh tires and a fresh truck. Well, Keaton, you're making a race for it, and with 2 laps to go, you're approaching the leader. Look at what new equipment can do, just blowing right by. But here's Barney, the flag man, with the white flag in his hand, and now the leader, the 66, goes under 1 lap to go. Now, even with the yellow flag, this race is secure for Blake Reynolds. He's still got 3/4 of a second over Nate Stewart down the back straightaway for the final time. He's just got to keep it clean through 3 and 4, which he has done every lap tonight. Once again, painting the white line up to the wall off of turn 4. The 66 sees the checkered flag in hand. Blake Reynolds, your winner here at the eStockCar World Series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Ooh, what a win it was for Reynolds in that 66, Joey. Once he found out he was the fastest truck on the track, he made it known he was the fastest truck on the track, easing to a nice victory here at Vegas, basically making up for last week's performance at Daytona. Here tonight, he shows what he has inside that cockpit.
Couldn't have been a more different race than what we saw at Daytona. We saw lots of yellow flags at Daytona, only a couple yellow flags to start off the night here, and then lots of green flag racing followed up with multiple green flag pit stops that had strategy play out. Ultimately, it was the 66 machine that was in second place, decided to be the first of the runners down pit road, came down, got his service done, had an amazing pit in, pit out. Now he's got the checkered flag and doing his rightful Bernies.
Yeah, burning it down here at Vegas, and we've burned it down at the Strip so far this week, so glad to escape Vegas. This race will carry out of Vegas. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I think Reynolds is going to carry this win with him the rest of the season, and I don't think this is the last time we'll see the 66 in victory lane.
Impressive burnout from the 66, and we will be right back after this quick break with the official results.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competitive Zone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
You just saw an incredible race here from the eStockCar World Series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Ultimately, it was the 66, that yellow machine of Blake Reynolds, taking home the win. Nate Stewart, one of the consistent front runners, comes home second place. Sam Brochu up 24 positions up into the third spot. Barrett Polimas in fourth spot. Connor Berry finishes in the top 5. Not necessarily the day that he was hoping for tonight, but still much better than his finish at Daytona. Aiden Beerline, another one of those consistent front runners, finds himself in the 6th spot. Shane Williams in 7th. Sean Williams, 8th. Zach Wheeler, 9th. And Tyler Green in the 10th position.
Looking at 11th, we have Oliver Golding right there in that 70 truck. Finishing 12th here tonight is Paul Mikalogic right there. 13th will be Chris Dickerson in that 17. Lance March in the 60 will finish 14th. Christopher Fathke will finish in the 15th spot. Matthew Hofford in 16th. Brian Tollier in 17th. Lee Norton in 18th. Matthew Jarrett in 19th. And Patrick O'Toole in 20th.
There we have Christy King in the 21st spot, Keaton Swain 22nd, and actually I want to mention Keaton Swain right now because you see he is on the lead lap. He was involved in that wreck, came down pit road, got his truck fixed, and ultimately battled it all the way back to the lead lap. So a great race from Keaton Swain. Doesn't show in the finishing result, but good job, Keaton. Troy Nissen there is the first truck a lap down, 23rd. Anthony Marsh, 24th. Hayes Booth, unfortunately, with that pit lane mishap, finds himself way down there, 25th. Nicholas Dashley, same story, 26th. Eric Whitner and Jordan Nissen rounding out the 28 trucks that we saw on the racetrack tonight. And before we get to our interviews, I know that our drivers are still rolling in and excited to talk about the race. I want to bring up the 2023 Drivers Gauntlet, which is broadcasted live here on Maconi Entertainment. As you see here, this is an event accumulating over a couple weeks. Starts with the Legends, goes the late models, all the way through to the NASCAR next-gen cars.
Yeah, Joe, and you look at what they have to go through. You start with the Legend cars. That's the $50 pay. Late models, another $50 payout. Super late models, $50. And then we're getting into some real Benjamin money here. We're going to run an ARCA race on the 11th of February right there for $100, $150 for the NASCAR trucks. We race in this series here. We're going to race the cars on March the 4th for 150, and then next gen cars on the 10th for 250. So if you look at it this way, Joey, you pay $40 for all these events, you have the possibility to win all of that cash.
Well, all of the cash, and not only that, but a cool custom guitar, and it's just a really cool event. So if you're interested in that, head on over to MaconiSetupShop.com. You can find it under event signups. There's more information there. And like I said, if you're interested, head on over to that website. Everything is there posted for you to find and find out more about that 2023 Drivers Gauntlet. Well, looks like we have officially caught up with our drivers for tonight, and we're going to be joined with our race winner, the number 66, Blake Reynolds. Congratulations tonight, Blake.
Thank you.
It was one heck of a race for you, starting dead last, 28th position out of 28 trucks entered, and ultimately taking home the bacon. Man, what a race, dude.
Yeah, it feels pretty good knowing I still got it. But, I mean, I showed up late. I was trying to set up a router. It didn't end up working. So I went back to the old router, plugged it back in, and I was able to pop up the simulator and get racing. And then my boy Nate was qualified toward the front, and he told me a couple things I needed to know before I got going. Got a general understanding of the setup of the car, or the truck, sorry. And yeah, I just went forward from there, picking off one by one at the start there. Luckily, that caution kind of I was able to kind of readjust everything I learned, and I kind of went based on what I felt in the tires. So drove up to the top 5 there, had good pit stops both times, and luckily that 2-tire call at the end is what won me the race, I think.
Well, yeah, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about because you really saw the whole landscape of today's race. And how different was the beginning half of the race when you had to deal with all of that dirty air and working your way through so much traffic versus the racing that you saw in the last half of the race?
It's kind of interesting. The truck is actually the most aerosensitive of all the stock cars. A lot of people don't know that. So I'm sure you saw a lot of guys kind of figured that out and were placing the trucks on entry in different spots. And even on the straightaway, I noticed some people try not to give a bubble of air to push somebody, or trying to draft somebody, trying to stay on the high side, keep momentum, all that jazz. So I kind of figured that out, in my time of just racing in the top levels of bubble racing, and I used that to my advantage. That's pretty much what got me through the field, just knowing if I hold this lane, I'll keep the momentum, get this guy's right rear, and pull him down the straightaway. And I did that. Probably made up one car per lap, probably there at the start, up until I got to the top 10. A little harder, but it was a good fight up at the top 5. Everyone was clean. I got to appreciate that, and it was just a good race. Good race.
Now, you mentioned you were on the radio with Nate Stewart earlier, and he was giving you some tips. And it certainly seemed like you passed 26 trucks out there, got to the back of that number 14, and couldn't find a way by him on the racetrack, and ultimately hit pit road to pass him. Now, that's a great move from a strategy aspect, but did you have enough speed to pass him on the racetrack? What made him so difficult to get around?
Nate's just a solid old racer, probably very close to my skill level. He was up front the whole time. He probably could have come through the field with me, but he was up front the whole time. So he was just battling up there in the top 5, and I used up my stuff. It was kind of right front heavy usage tonight, and I used up my right front, and it was kind of basketballing over the bumps here at Las Vegas. So I knew I just didn't have it to try and pass him. I tried a couple of times there to shut up the inside or even get to his right rear. He knew how to place his truck perfectly. So I figured the only way I was going to beat him was come down pit road, and with so few laps left, I mean, it was like, 17, 16 laps? I figured, why not try a 2-tire call? I thought I lost it, to be honest. iRacing has this two can of fuel situation. It's a glitch. I only put in 3.7 gallons, and it gave me 2 cans. when it dropped the tires, it re-engaged the second can to give me 2/10 of fuel. Which is a bug they need to fix, honestly. It actually bit me in the Coke series several times in dire situations, so that sucks. But it didn't hinder me tonight. I was able to overcome it and win just barely.
Well, congratulations, Blake. And last thing, is there anybody that you want to say hi to while we still have you here? Yeah,
sure. Jim B. Resports. I probably shouldn't say on Connor Berry's broadcast. Screw it. Okay, Jim B. Resports, Next Level Racing, Apex Gaming PCs, Dead Zone Racing, and that's it. Oh, you guys for broadcasting.
It's all right, Blake. You're allowed to thank whoever supports you that helps get it done for you out on the racetrack. And that was tonight's winner, the number 66, Blake Reynolds. And I believe that Will Tiller is now standing by with our second place finisher, Nate Stewart.
Yeah, Nate Stewart in that 14 truck. Man, you were probably one of the hardest working trucks out there. All the blocking, all the work you had to do. Here tonight, you got a second place finish. Probably just a tad bit disappointed you weren't one of the trucks there at the end that were putting it on, Reynolds, in that 66. Good race nonetheless. Take us through your night at Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, it was a night for sure. All I really have to say is I'm not the biggest fan of this type of racing. Just dirty air fest, can't do anything. I was getting extremely frustrated on that first run just because there was absolutely nothing I could do. But luckily I was able to hit it really well on that first stop and then pull out to the lead, stay there, and then I just got outsmarted at the end. Uh, there's not really much else. Blake hit, gambled and took 2 tires. I mean, I got out strategized. That happens.
Yeah, that happens indeed. But as far as the racing on the track goes there, Nate, you did a great job of blocking other people, holding your lines. You were always one of those trucks in the mix up there in the top 3. Is there anything, I know you talked about getting out strategized, of course, that may happen from week in and week out. But is there anything that you can take from this race here tonight that maybe might put you in victory lane next week?
I mean, just I'm familiarizing myself with the truck, learning how dirty air works again with everything and all that. I'm just, learning the truck again because I'm getting ready for Road to Pro to start here sometime soon. So, you know, getting into this league is really helping me familiarize myself with the truck. Maybe I'll be able to pick up a win or two along the way in here. And I mean, yeah, it's just I'm just learning the truck again. Really, it's going to help out in this league. It's going to help out in Road to Pro. It's just going to help out.
Yeah, you're doing a great job so far in this series. Here tonight, you're going to finish second. You spoke about how you just couldn't, you couldn't get to Blake Reynolds. He had that strategy to take 2 tires there in that last few of pit stops. But great race nonetheless, though, Nate, inside that 14 truck. But before we let you go here tonight and get ready for next week here in the eStockCar World Series, is there any way that you wanted to shout out any sponsors that made this race possible for you?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to, myself, Apex Action Photography. I do iRacing screenshots. Still taking on clients for this upcoming eNASCAR season, Coke, Road to Pro if I can fit it in, and I'm looking to diversify as well, get into dirt road even. I mean, I just want to diversify what I do. So just DM me on Twitter, Discord, somewhere, and I'd be more than willing to talk to someone about having new clients and all that. Speed Vision's gonna have some schemes made by them here this upcoming year. Rexford Engineering, they make an assortment of button boxes. I have my own right over here. I know I don't have my camera on, and I couldn't really show you anyways because it's kind of bolted to my rig, but make sure to go check them out. And then Digital Chumps, writing game and movie reviews. Make sure to go support them as well. And Rise Esports, glad to be working with them again. And I'm glad we were able to announce our partnership with Mama Smith and Mama Media earlier today. I have a feeling 2023 is going to be a great year for me overall.
Yeah, it's been great so far, Nate. You had the performance at Daytona. Bettered it here tonight with a second place finish. First podium of the season for that 14 truck of Nate Stewart. But Nate, we appreciate you taking the time with us here, my man. Go enjoy that podium finish, and we'll see you next week.
Stand forward. Thank you.
That was Nate Stewart, the driver of that 14 truck. Joey's going to finish second here tonight. As I mentioned, one of the hardest working trucks out there. Just got out strategized at the end.
Here is Sam Brochu. Now, Sam, is it Brochu or Brochu?
It's Brochu.
Brochu. Okay, I had been calling right the whole broadcast, so I don't feel so bad now. But what a drive for you tonight! Ultimately up 24 positions, coming home in the top 3, and seemed like it was you and Blake Reynolds just working your way through the whole field.
Yeah, I didn't know it was 23. Shoot, that's a lot.
24.
Yeah,
24 positions.
Oof. Well, yeah, it was really hard to pass. As the tires aged and, people were kind of throwing dumb blocks and stuff. And, but I guess it's just a part of a draft fest at a track like this and a car like this. So, but yeah, it was tough working through the field and, thinking about strategy on top of it. I worked with Barrett, my teammate, most of the race once I got to him, and we were able to make a lot of spots just kind of tandeming on the top. And then, strategy came into play and found ourselves, quietly in the top 5 and top 10 there. And, we just thought taking 4 was the best option. It kind of worked out. I'd say it worked out, but not really as we thought. We thought we would have closed on Blake a lot quicker than we actually did. But, Blake's such a good driver. It's, you you just think that he's going to be, the quickest guy out there every week. So, but yeah, it was a good race overall. I'm honestly kind of surprised that I charged as much as I did there because I'm kind of dog in the trucks. But yeah, a good race. Happy with the finish and see if we can carry it on to next week.
Well, talk to me about that charge. Is that once it seemed like you got into clean air, I know that Blake had kind of already caught that pack of top 5 in front of you, but you seemed to just put the visor down and you were then the fastest truck on the racetrack and just hunted down that top 5 and immediately caught up to that lead group. You had some tremendous pace out there.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was, I could tell Blake was full throttle, and then watching him go full throttle, it was best for me to go full throttle as well. And but I saw that his corners were a lot different than mine. Like he was cutting it in a lot later, and he was gaining a little bit of time on me. But once I was able to get, once he was able to get to that lead pack and kind of force his way up through there, they started slowing down, and then I just said, whatever happens, happens. I've got to go hard because I can't lose the draft and be stuck in the middle, from that pack and then the pack behind us. So really, I was just trying to learn off of Blake. I didn't really learn much because it's such, a simple combination. But yeah, once I found that speed, it was pretty easy to get up to the pack. And, getting by Aiden was really tough because, worn tires and, the air doesn't really help. So once I was able to get by him and just kind of sit and wait for pit strategy, it was, it was pretty good from there.
Well, last thing I got to ask you before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to that helps get it done for you on the racetrack?
Yeah, Barrett Polhemus, he's been a friend of mine for a while, and to be teammates with him is pretty cool. We work really, really well together. So having us, as a pair on the track, it increases our chances of performing well by a large margin just because, our chemistry is so good. So him, and then our team owner, J.O., he puts a lot of faith in us to, go run these leagues and put up good finishes. So yeah, I just got to thank them too.
Awesome. Well, that was your third place finisher, Sam Brochu, here tonight. And before we head out, want to pop up this upcoming schedule here of this eStockCar World Series. As you see, next up we go to Atlanta, but one thing, there's a couple big curveballs in this schedule. You see, after Atlanta, we're going to go hit Circuit of the Americas, which is going to be the first road course of this 15 race season. And that's what's really going to be interesting. And then after that, you see Darlington, and then off to the Bristol dirt track and another super speedway. And then finally, we do hit those ultimate playoff rounds, round of 12, round of 8, and then ultimately the championship 4 to round it out at Phoenix. And can't wait to see how this entire 15 race series plays out over the course of the season. And of course, we want to thank tonight's admin team as well as our broadcast partners here at Maconi Entertainment. Calling all the action tonight was myself, Joey Atterbury, alongside Will Tiller in the booth and Ryan Bauer producing. Thanks to all of our viewers for tuning into tonight's racing action. We hope to see you on January 17th for the next race here in the eStockCar World Series for the trucks at Atlanta on Maconi Entertainment that we were just talking about. Make sure to stay tuned to the Maconi Entertainment social media pages for all of the upcoming broadcasts. Of course, a thank you to the Maconi staff and their work bringing you this racing action. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment, and we wish you all a good night and a happy new year.